Blood Bar Part 3. It's not just a drink. Lila turned her head, frowning slightly as she watched the man. The bartender, with a practiced smile, slid 2 identical glasses toward him, the deep crimson liquid swirling inside. Lila blinked, her gaze flickering from the new order to her own drink. Crimson elixir, the same. Her eyes shot to Jaxon, who was leaning against the bar, watching the exchange with an unreadable expression. She stared at her glass, now half empty, a creeping unease settling in her stomach. The tangy taste that she had initially found intriguing now felt off somehow, like it was lingering in her mouth in a way it shouldn't. The weight of it shifted from curiosity to discomfort. Her pulse quickened. She felt dizzy, lightheaded, and a cold sweat broke out across her skin. Her stomach churned violently, and a wave of nausea rushed over her, sudden and overwhelming. She barely had time to register the discomfort before she felt the bile rising in her throat. Before she could stop herself, she pushed her stool back, stumbling to her feet, the room spinning around her. "Are you?" Jaxon began to ask, but she didn't wait for him to finish. She bolted for the door, heart pounding in her ears, barely hearing the sounds of people murmuring behind her. The cold night air hit her face as she pushed through the bar's exit and out into the street. She didn't stop running until she reached the quiet alley beside the building, where she dropped to her knees, vomiting violently into the darkness. Her mind raced. What the hell was that? It hadn't felt like a normal drink at all. Something was wrong. Her breathing was rapid, sharp gasps in the cold air as she wiped her mouth with the back of her hand, the taste still haunting her tongue. She could feel the weight of Jaxon's gaze in her mind, his calm, knowing expression as she drank it. A feeling of dread settled heavily in her chest. Had he known? Had he meant for this to happen? With shaky hands, she wiped her face and slowly pushed herself to her feet, her legs weak and unsteady. A cold fear gnawed at her gut. She needed answers now. But her head was spinning, and all she could do was take slow, deep breaths as the world around her swam. What had he gotten her into? Jaxon appeared behind her, his footsteps light against the pavement. Lila didn't need to turn around to know he was there. She could feel his presence, feel his eyes on her. He spoke softly, his voice just above a whisper, though there was a sharpness to it. "Lila, are you?" Before he could finish, she spun around, her hand instinctively shoving him back. He stumbled slightly, surprised, but his gaze didn't falter. His expression softened for a split second, and then a frown tugged at the corners of his mouth. "What else can you expect from a blood bar?" he said, the words coming out flat, almost like he was speaking to himself. "Of course, a blood drink." Lila's heart hammered in her chest. The world around her felt suddenly very small, and the ground beneath her seemed to shift. "Blood drink," she repeated, her voice raw with disbelief. "What the hell are you talking about?" Jaxon didn't seem fazed by her anger, his posture calm, almost too calm. He took a slow step forward, his eyes scanning her face with a mixture of patience and something darker. "That's what the crimson elixir is, Lila," he explained, his voice cool but laced with an undertone of something she couldn't quite read. "It's not just a drink. It's a blood cocktail." Lila felt her stomach turn again, and this time it wasn't from nausea. She staggered back a step, her eyes wide, heart pounding in her ears. What the hell? Her mind raced, trying to piece together the implications. Blood cocktail, and that sickly sweet tang had tasted like blood. "You're insane," she managed to say, her voice trembling as she backed further away from him, not trusting her own legs to stay steady. "This has to be some kind of joke." "You're joking, aren't you?" There was a slight hint of irritation in Jaxon's tone as he stepped closer. "No, Lila, this is real," he told her firmly. Suddenly Lila's attention drifted to the sounds. Just then, the rumble of a car engine caught her ear, and her heart dropped. To her horror, she saw a sleek black SUV pull up in front of the hotel. 2 figures stepped out, and as they moved closer, she recognized them instantly. Her father's guards, scanning the area with steely expressions. "No, no, no," she whispered, backing away from Jaxon and running inside the hotel toward her room. Panic gripped her. They were here. They had found her. Lila's mind raced. She had to think quickly. If they were searching for her inside the hotel, she wouldn't be safe for long. She hurriedly moved to the closet and grabbed a light jacket, slipping it on before darting toward the bathroom. Heart pounding in her chest, she decided to hide behind the shower curtain, hoping the guards wouldn't think to check such an obvious place. As she crouched there, the adrenaline surged through her, making it difficult to breathe. Footsteps echoed outside her door, and she held her breath, straining to hear. "Check all the rooms," one guard instructed. "She can't have gone far." Lila squeezed her eyes shut, her heart thudding painfully in her ears. She could hear the door to her room creak open, the guards' voices muffled but filled with urgency. "She was just here," one of them said. "Let's check the back stairs." The sound of footsteps moved away from her room, and Lila took a shaky breath, trying to steady herself. The weight of her situation crashed down on her once more. She was hiding, scared and alone, with no idea what her father would do if he found her. As she waited in the darkness, she couldn't help but think about what her life would be like if she stayed hidden. The life of luxury and expectations would fade away, but what would take its place? Freedom, adventure, or would she simply be running from one set of problems to another? The guards' voices grew distant, and she remained frozen, the minutes ticking by slowly. Finally, when she was sure they had moved on, she peeked out from behind the curtain, her heart still racing. The corridor seemed clear for now, but she knew this was only a temporary reprieve. She had to find a way to keep moving, to reclaim her life on her own terms. Lila stepped out from her hiding place, determination igniting within her. "I won't let you control my life anymore," she whispered to the night, clenching her fists. "I will find a way to be free. Let's get going." "You're not safe here." Jaxon's voice cut through the tension, sharp and urgent. Lila barely had time to react before he appeared in her room, his figure suddenly filling the doorway. Before she could process what was happening, he was beside her, grabbing her hand with a firm, unyielding grip, his fingers tightening around hers as he tried to pull her toward the door. Lila's heart slammed in her chest, panic surging through her veins. In an instant, she wrenched her hand free from his grasp, stepping back with a sharp breath, her pulse quickening. "Don't touch me," she snapped, eyes flashing with a mix of fear and fury. Her voice trembled but was laced with defiance as she faced him, her back to the wall. "What the hell is going on? Why are you here?"